Hi and welcome to another episode of the Career Stories podcast. My name's Joe.
And I'm Carrie.
We are careers advisors for Skills Development Scotland, and in this podcast we talk to a variety of different career professionals and their roles to discover a bit about their career journey, how they got into their job, but also find out a bit about the job, because for some of you may think about a career change, or maybe you're a young person and this is the first main career that you want to pursue. So it's important we give you some details about what that might be like. So today is no different, and this guest is a very interesting one. If you are on YouTube right now, do not adjust your screen. You're not seeing double. Today's guest is my twin brother and police constable, Andrew McCrystal. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
So this is where...
That's good effort.
Yeah, that was first take, by the way. So obviously for us as careers advisors in school, police comes up, or police officer comes up several times throughout the year, and we know it's changed over the last 30 years. It's a different job now. Recruitment obviously has changed. It used to be very closed, now it's very open. So we thought it'd be good to get somebody who has got recent experience. In fact, for you, is it nearly a decade?
It's the 10th year, yes.
10th year experience. Yes. And obviously you've been at different stations and you've had different roles, so thought it'd be good to kind of get somebody in with that kind of experience and talk to. And why not you?
Why not?
Why not?
Exactly. So thank you for coming.
No worries.
But for us, I think it is important, the career journey. So because for a lot of people, it isn't always A plus B equals C. There is a bit of a up and down and sideways turn and things like that as well. So talk about, obviously that was your first job. From there, how did we then get to the police?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably the best candidate for that, going from A, B to C. It's not always the same. So I was a greenkeeper, and then whilst I was doing greenkeeping, I was part of Young Farmers. So I played young farmer hockey and I knew friends from it. So I started doing sort of weekend work at a local farm, and it just so happened it was my friend who worked there. He was leaving the job, and I got offered the job to go and be a dairy farmer, which seems so complete. I mean, it's still in the agricultural world, I suppose, but it was a complete new world to me, having not been brought up in that environment. However, at that time, being a young man who had a car and trying to go about, coming into 18, 19, 20, I was like, I need money. And farming is, believe it or not, as long as you work the hours, and it was a lot of hours, and it was hard work, it was a good income. So I went into agricultural, I went into farming for 4.5 years.
Mm-hmm. How many hours were you working, do you remember?
Yeah, I was working 12 hours a day, Monday to Friday. I was covering weekend morning milkings where I needed to help. It was a very family orientated, I mean, I suppose most farms are, but it was a small farm, and it was literally me and the boss effectively. So, there was a lot of pressure in that respect, because there was a lot of reliability on my part, which grew, I would say, a really good work ethic, because ultimately I was depended on.
Yep.
I think sometimes when you're in larger organisations, you can feel like a number, but with the farming I was relied on, which grew a really good work ethic, which sort of has absolutely structured most of my career, I would say, for what I've went on to and how I've tackled it. So, yeah, I was farming, and then through farming I applied for the fire service.
Oh, there you go.
I applied for the fire service and done really well, got through all the advanced stages up into the final interview. Unfortunately, I wasn't successful in the final interview. It was my first formal interview, so I wasn't too disheartened by that.
Yeah.
I think people need to realise that, these are difficult environments, and if you've never experienced it before, you can go in as prepared as you want to be. However, to be successful against, the fire service hadn't recruited for quite a lot of years, so you're up against quite a lot of people who maybe tried a few times.
And you've got all the people who are doing the retained and things like that as well,
Absolutely.
So they're kind of already know stuff.
But potentially even just better candidates.
Aye.
I gave a good show of myself through all the fitness stuff and all the exams leading up, which was good.
Yeah.
But failed at that hurdle, so it was kind of back to the drawing board again. I just knew farming wasn't going to be my life. It was quite a difficult job, and I think unless you have family in that world, it's really hard to sustain it. I think even socially as well, it's a lot of hours and a lot of commitment. So yeah, that led to applying for the police.
Did it though?
Well,
Did it though? Why police though? What's the story behind the police?
Well, I initially applied for the police when I was 18.
Okay.
And I realised I wasn't mature enough for Police Scotland at the time.
Okay.
At that time, sorry, it would have been Strathclyde Police, but there was a fitness test, and it was 1.5 miles, and you had to run round the training college at Jackton. And I remember at that time I was super fit. I played hockey. I was maybe second fastest, I think I was, second or third fastest. And when I finished my 1.5 miles, I had my arms folded, and I got quite a telling off for standing with my arms folded. And that's when I realised it was a real disciplined organisation, which at that time I wasn't ready for.
Yeah.
And I realised that. I thought very hard. I was hard done by as I excelled through the training part. And I realised perhaps I'm not ready for this sort of job role yet. I need maybe a bit more experience in my life to tackle that way. So yeah, and then both my parents are in the police. So that's probably they're not now. They're not now. They're both retired from the police. So that was a massive influence in me growing up as well.
Yeah.
They joined when we were about 11 years old. And that managing that through our life, there was a lot of good times and bad times that I got to hear from both parts.
Yeah.
So when I did apply, I was going in fully aware of what I was applying for. And I think a lot of people aren't aware of what they're applying for, and we probably lose a lot of people through the early stages of applying for the police because they're not fully aware.
Yeah.
Whereas I was. So that kind of led to that.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, because for us, when kids say they want to join the police, the difficulty is the life experience part, and ultimately if you join at 18, which is fine, and some kids are mature, but there's obviously a physicality part of it. Within 3 months you could be out in the street and dealing with confrontation, which is quite tough at 18, having not had life experience. So for you, obviously you approached that at 18 and maybe realised in yourself that this wasn't the right time for you. So do you think that even now the police, it's still really difficult to get in at 18, and that ultimately
I
there
wouldn't
is...
say so. I think the police has became, we really have broadened our horizons. I mean, there is no upper age limit, which used to be a thing. You know, there used to be a lot of discriminative facts about joining the police that ultimately is now completely changed. Even particularly joining at 18, it's encouraged a lot of the time. Yes, it's difficult at 18 based on your application. The applications are difficult. There's a lot of sort of, we work off the sort of CVF, the competency value framework, and a lot of people who are 18 haven't really got the experience to really tick those boxes. However, there are plenty that still get in at 18, so I wouldn't ever dispel anybody from joining at 18. What I would just say, if it is your first occupation, it can be quite challenging. Particularly the younger generation now are coming through social media as a massive form of their contact. I think we noticed that certainly coming out of COVID, a lot that joined after COVID had not even personal experience, weren't able to kind of engage publicly. So all their contact was on social media, which makes the social skills really difficult. And as much as you get plenty of experience of that in the job, it's really something you want to have going into it. It makes it far easier to do the occupation. So,
I think quite a lot of the people that I know that are in the police, they've all kind of come through other careers, and it's really random. Like you say, you've come from like greenkeeping and dairy farming. Like I've got 2 people, my hairdresser, she just quit to go and be in the police, her partner's in the police, but I've had another hairdresser, I must be just doing something to my hairdressers to make them go to the police, but like a few folk from like McDonald's and things like that, and I think a lot of them have had that sort of, it's that customer service and that really good people skills that makes it then when they go to the police, then that, because it is such a big part of the job, isn't it?
It's a huge part. I would say it's the most important part. I mean, we're engaging with people from all types or a lot of diverse backgrounds, different communities, people with different neurological issues or mental health problems. And if you have a real good foundation for your communication skills, it's really good. It makes it really easy to tailor your approach to how you engage with people. I think if you don't come in with that, it can be really hard to kind of to progress it or to get better at it, but it certainly can achieve it. You know, there are people that come in with not, I wouldn't say the best communication skills, but you know, within their probationary period, that by the time they come out of their probationary period, they're fairly developed.
Oh, that's really
And what
good.
about that then? So see, like the process for you, obviously, years later, and then even now, I know obviously you're in the job 10 years, so you're maybe not kind of part of the recruitment process much, but what would be the things that you would maybe give tips on in terms of like preparing for that and then understanding maybe post if they're successful within that kind of training period where they do go
so
to
it's
the
very
college?
difficult. I believe it's changed now. When I was at the college, it was maybe I was 11 weeks. It's now, I think it's up to 18 weeks now.
Wow.
There's been a lot of legislation changes over the last 10 years, which obviously means that, you know, the stuff that you're getting taught has to be expanded. So it's now 18 weeks, which I actually think's really good. I think's when you cram everything into a short period of time, it can create difficulties when you come out. You want to come out with a real strong foundation of the legislation, you know, how you get a lot of officer safety training, a lot of scenario training. So you've already come out armed to kind of deal with it. But the college is completely different from the real life world, as you can imagine. It's the college is not a real environment. It's very much a safe space to progress. But when you come out, obviously, it's the real world with angry people and people going through a lot of out of in crisis.
Yeah.
So the college is sitting about 18 weeks. I think to prepare for anything like that, you've got to understand you know, you come away from your life a lot of time. It's split now. It used to be all at the police college, but you've got it at the Jackton as well, which is at East Kilbride. So it used to always be at Tullyallen, which is up near sort of Alloa way. Yep. It's now split at Jackton, which is great as well, because people can go home at night if they come from this sort of area, which is something you never used to be able to do. When I was at the college, you pretty much had to stay there and be engrossed in that environment and focus. But what I would say as well, just for people who become successful and goes to the college, is just soak it up. You know, it's a sponge. It's your best time. I would go back to the college tomorrow. It's the safest space. It's like going back to school. You know, it's a really good environment for learning, but you've just got to go in sort of two-footed and just try and soak it all up.
I think that's really interesting, even as well, that opens it up, the fact that there are the two places that you can go for that sort of the college part of it. Because like you say, if people are kind of coming in that younger age, that's like another daunting part of it as well. And I know, like, you'll know more, like, I didn't realise, but you'll know more about, like, when people are coming to us and saying about wanting to be in the police. Like, one of the things that I always say to people is about that life experience and saying, yeah, you can apply now, but like you say, don't be disheartened if you don't get in straight away. Like, I've had people who are adults who've applied 4, 5, 6 times to the police and they get in on the 7th time. So that perseverance to get in, it doesn't mean that it's not the right fit for you. It maybe just means you need to continue to develop and build towards it, sort of thing. So, but that is good that there is that option, especially for people who are joining as adults who maybe have like family and life, like, you know, commitments at home. That
I firmly believe Police Scotland we're doing our best to be as inclusive as we can, and certainly support those. We completely understand family life. Police Scotland, I mean, as you say, the job has changed from a lot of years ago. It's far more tailored to support family life, and certainly the training element of it's good that it's split between the two. I would agree. But yeah, absolutely, that's a good point you make. Don't be disheartened if you don't get through the first time. I would argue there's a lot that don't. Again, it's the experience of going through it, going to Jackton, going through your exams, and the different experiences.
Well, it was different as well. Like, our mum was it second or third time before she got in, and I think back then it was recruitment wasn't yearly as well, so you had to wait a bit of time if you were unsuccessful. So whereas now it is a yearly thing, isn't it? So like there is more opportunities, or the turnaround could be quicker. Is that right?
Yeah, it is much quicker, and also it's important to know that if there's different stages of the application process, and if you're successful through that stage, if you have to apply the following year, you don't have to do this stage again. So like the written exam element of it, when I was, you know, obviously it's been 10 years, I think it's similar, but it was, you know, it was a past paper on English, maths, and what was the last one? I can't remember, it will come back to me. But ultimately, if you say pass 2 of the papers and fail one, you only come back to resit the one. So you've really got an opportunity to, obviously the police want you to try and be successful. It gives you a bit of a focus. If you get to the interview stage and you're unsuccessful, you'll come back in at the interview stage.
Right.
So you don't have to go back and set the past papers again, which is it's good, because it should encourage you to want to reapply. And it just means, right, I've had the experience of the interview, and how do I go about studying for the interview? Best advice I can always say, and everybody will tell you this, if you are applying, go into your local police office. Speak to probationers, ask for someone who's just out of college. They're going to be your best avenue into getting the intel you need for how to progress or get through the college. For me now, I can actually I can help people, but ultimately I'm 10 years out, so my information is probably a wee bit dated for some of it. But definitely go into your local police office, speak to probationers, just show that you're keen, and it will help you.
Awesome. What skills then, right? So obviously we talked about communication probably as number one. We know that, and by the way, happy. Please tell us more about it. But what other skills do you think has probably allowed you to continue being successful, but better at your job, I guess?
It's a good question. If you can enjoy the job, I think, like you'll say that to anybody, that whatever job you're applying for, if you can learn a way to enjoy it, then you'll be successful in it. A lot of people join the police and don't enjoy it, and ultimately they either leave the police or maybe they find a role. I think the one thing I would say about Police Scotland that's really unique is there are so many roles within Police Scotland that once you get through your initial training and, you know, get the experience you require, there's so many different avenues you can go that allows you to keep enjoying the job. So I think for me that work ethic is massive. But again, in the job itself, I think it's about moving and trying to get as much intelligence, much experience as you can to continue to enjoy the role. I think you can, if you stay stagnant within any role, it can be difficult. So that's what's worked for me.
Yeah.
On that topic, so when you kind of came out of the college, so you're in a different role now within the police. So what's the role been that you've done?
So when you first come out, you have to do your 2 years probationary period. That involves, it's changed even since I did it, but that involves, evidencing your experience and having that backed by your tutor, so somebody who has been in the job a while, who will be teaching you how to write a certain way and go through the process. So I did 2 years doing that. After that, I was a tutor myself very quickly, which was nice. And from there, I went on to community policing, which again is a completely different aspect to the job. It very much involves being part of the community, being involved in meetings, understanding things from a different perspective. When you're a response officer, which is generally what people come out as, I think that's still happening. Different divisions do it differently. Sometimes you come out and you do a year as a community police officer, and I think that's also a good way, because it allows you to learn the academic part of the job, so the written part, the raising crime reports and writing cases, and then they're trying to transition them into response, so then they're sort of almost a package ready to kind of go from the academia side. Where I did it was straight into response, straight in the deep end, and try and learn the job. So from there I went on to community policing. I did that, and that was in the south side of Glasgow. Covered Castlemilk, worked there for maybe two years, and then I decided I needed a change, and I stayed in with community policing, but I moved to Glasgow City Centre.
Oh, okay.
But this was in the hope to try and get promoted, which was the plan of attack at the time. So I moved into the city centre, and again, community police officer there. Again, I think it's really good, because it's every single, and we have it down as subdivisions. So you've got Greater Glasgow, and then every sort of council authority area sort of breaks up into different, what we call subdivisions, and each subdivision has its own diverse community, so it really does change how you tackle, so it's really important to move about, I think.
Yeah, so even in the same job role, but in a different location, it's a completely different job.
Completely different job, different needs.
Especially when you talk about the city centre, I remember when you joined the city centre, like that is a different animal.
Very difficult job, very different job, very rewarding job, as well. I think every job in the police is rewarding for its own ways, but moving to city centre was a new challenge. I went in two-footed, and then I got an acting sergeant position covering sort of Giffnock, Barhead, Newton Mearns, which was again different because I was in a supervisory role. And what was different as well was clientele. The customers at Giffnock and Newton Mearns or your complainers are obviously from a different affluent. It's more affluent, if you will. So again, their needs are different as well. So it was. That's kind of the way I've transitioned. Yeah. That's one pathway in the police. There's so many different ones.
Well, what is the one you're in now? So I think, is it the retail crime? Is this a
Retail
new task force?
Yeah. So the Scottish Government sort of April last year funded Police Scotland to try and tackle retail crime. Acutely aware that along the way after COVID, it's sort of lost its way on how we manage it, how it's investigated. It's classed as low level crime, which it is, and I think just due to demand, it can certainly be a bit more difficult to try and progress in a timely manner and get really good results. So Police Scotland was funded £3 million to create the Retail Crime Taskforce. So we have a national team that works out of the headquarters at Kilmarnock, and they coordinate subdivisional teams, and we are Greater Glasgow's crime team. So we tackle retail crime, but it's not just shoplifting, it's to do with obviously retailer offences. So you'll have a lot of people now who will be young leavers that come out and maybe go into retail. It's probably particularly if they're going into further education. Really important to know that we're tackling it, because they're going to be subject, unfortunately, to certain scenarios that they might never have been involved in their life. People coming in stealing or being threatening and abusive, and we're trying to say, look, we're managing that now. So we tackle high harm offenders and organised crime groups involved in shoplifting. So it's really exciting. It's good.
And it must be quite interesting. Like it must be quite cool to be involved in something that's that bit different. Like it's a task force. Like it's something that's going to be a bit different to what you would have been doing before, and like that really specific. This is what we're working on. That must be
it is, and it's a very self-supervised role. There's a lot of. This was the first time, or certainly for a lot of years, the first time something like this has happened. So, you're very much given the keys to the car and crack on and drive. And that's unique in the police as well, because the police is very much, for a lot of the police, it's led. Can you go here, do this or do that or take that call? This is the first time where all of our opinions have been mattered in our group. We've offered a lot of good suggestions of how to tackle it and what we see the job role being. So, it's different. generally speaking, we're kicking about like this
Yeah.
and not in uniform as well, which again is different. The thing I would say about the best part about it is the engagement with the retailers, and it's a really good, satisfying job.
Yeah.
For the first time you're providing good service delivery, because we're not got the restraints of the radio.
Okay.
So getting told to go here, there and everywhere,
Yeah.
we can pretty much go and manage each incident at a time, which is really good.
And then I suppose for the people who are within retail, knowing that you guys are there and that it's something that you're taking seriously and actively working on, what's the word? Stopping? I don't know, or actively working on
absolutely.
making a difference with.
We've certainly,
it must feel good for them.
Yeah, we've certainly found, and even when I was a community cop, that the retailers feel left out, let down by the police, and I think they're now starting to realise that it's not a police issue. We are tackling it. We are getting high harm offenders. We are taking them to court, and hopefully the justice system does the right thing and looks after the retailers. And ultimately, that's what's been happening over the last sort of 6 months or so.
And who knows, in the future it could be a Netflix documentary / drama of the Retail Crime Force.
I will imagine.
I mean, why not?
And they'll have you sitting
we've had so many different ones. Can you imagine that? Like his voice changed and all that, and everyone's like, is that my careers advisor? Sure,
hold on, I'm confused.
Hold on a second.
He's got a double job.
So obviously, like, it's great to get that insight in terms of like the different routes into police and the progression routes and stuff. But like, what is it like just genuinely working as a police officer? Because I think ultimately, like, we have an idea, but like, you know, is
a lot of it comes from Netflix. Was it Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
But what's it like? What is the fun parts of your job, and then what are some of the challenging parts?
I think most people that maybe they don't know, it is a challenging role. You know, it has been since the moment police came into fruition. I think people realise that it's not really great for social life. You know, you really, if you're going into the police, you have to understand that, you know, you're there for the right reasons, and you will have to sacrifice a lot of your own time. Particularly in Greater Glasgow, if that's the division you work in, you know, there's a lot of abstractions. You know, and by abstractions, what I mean is like sort of your days off being cancelled for like things like court or football events or events at the hydro, or you're going to get held on at work because, you know, you're dealing with a big incident. It means you have to say no to a lot of personal things in your life. However, what it does give is a lot of job satisfaction. You know, you're dealing with a lot of people, as I said earlier, from vulnerable or diverse backgrounds who are in crisis. You know, a lot of Police Scotland's it's been very mental health focused recently. It's probably taken a lot of the frontline policing away from the frontline policing. But you have to understand these people are requiring assistance, and we are that frontline. So it's a very difficult job. Obviously, there's a shift pattern. If people don't know, right now it runs off what we call the VSA shift pattern, and it basically means that you do earlies, lates, and nights over a 5-week rotational period. I won't bore you with what days are what. However, night shifts are really difficult as well. Like they just are. I think they're difficult for home life. You know, they're difficult on your physical health as well. You really have to try and tailor your day to suit your night shifts. But again, that's the job that you're applying for.
And I'm assuming your night shifts are different to firefighters' night shifts.
Well,
like you don't sleep.
Yes, our night shifts can be very, very busy, and there is no rhyme nor reason to busy days in the police as it would be for any emergency service. So,
is the full moon theory a thing?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so. Certainly from my own personal experiences, if it's a full moon, it's generally going to be a difficult night. Who knows why? I'm not saying we're out there cheering werewolves. It can just be a very difficult night. Most times a full moon, you're hoping you're in your house. But no, so it's a bit difficult for social life. But again, as I say, it's a lot of jobs. It can be a lot of job satisfaction.
Yeah. And what about like genuine fun stuff that you get the chance to do or have? And this could be like, by the way, just a story of something that was going to be, you know, a tough incident and then ended up quite a good laugh for the day. Like, what kind of things do you discover come across?
I don't know. I mean, our humour might be different depending on what we're dealing with, obviously. I wouldn't say it's the most humanist job, but I would say that there's a lot of things that can happen, particularly community policing, right? I would say that the fun stuff comes from good results. Whether it be that you lock up a very bad person and a victim's safe for the period in which that person's in jail, or just the engagement with the community, that's probably the fun stuff.
When people are thinking about wanting to be in the police, they are thinking about like this like family community, like this sort of like, I'm assuming like there's going to be a really good bond with the people that you're working with generally.
Yes,
like that
I would
sort
say
of
so. It's difficult
together.
as well. Like any job role, what I would say is, you know, the police has brought a lot of people from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get on with everybody. That's
Yes.
important that you know that. That's the same as any profession, whether it be the private sector
like me and Joe.
or the police. Yeah.
Yeah, we're like the primetime TV anchors where we just pretend to like each other and off
camera,
like,
like,
we don't actually talk to each other. She's away on the phone a coffee and I just stand there.
But what I would say is you're absolutely, try not to misphrase myself here, but you've got to war for them. Do you know what I mean? If someone's in need, you're there, regardless of what your personal feelings are for each other. But what I would say is the Police Scotland creates that culture of togetherness.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of instances, everything you do is together to better the next person. If you're really, really busy, your colleagues are helping you so that we all finish on time and supporting you when we turn up to incidents. What is it I can do? That we're very good at that. So it's really important that we are as close to the ones that are on duty, and it does create that. It also creates it through the different experiences you're involved in. You know, some people went through really traumatic experiences, and I think it's really important that people realise that, you know, there are incidents that will be traumatic. Police Scotland's incredible at managing that and getting you the support that you require to tackle that. But that does create really strong bonds.
Yeah. It's funny because I used to work in a residential school as a careers advisor, and one of the boys from there had a lot of police involvement because, you know, because he did. And then he left KR and is now like he's in a different place and he's now a police officer.
Well, there you go.
And
Amazing.
I remember, and he phones me, and you know, it's so funny because I think for him it was all about like getting that community, because he maybe didn't have that so much before, and he got that, and he's now, you know, he went from being the boy who was running away from the police to being the one who could actually, I think he's now in like community policing, and I think for him he can use his lived experience of, you know, you say, you know what, I wasn't always doing the right thing, but
Well, absolutely, and I bet you he probably thought, I'll never get in the police. There's probably anyone that thought that he wanted to be would never get in, but then that just goes to show you that don't let your childhood indiscretions, you know, dispel you from actually trying to apply if it's something you really want. Obviously, there comes a point you have to start making smart decisions and focusing on your future. But absolutely, I'm glad that you got through that.
Yeah, I know.
Well, like, see, obviously for us, and I know modern day now, there's a lot of changes with like technology and how it impacts job roles. Like, I don't know how it works for you guys, but is AI something that's going to come into the police in some fashion? Is there anything you think with AI it could change your job?
The job's changed dramatically. We now have a national system where everything's integrated. So before, where a crime happened in Edinburgh and then a crime happened here for the same subject, the transferring of that information was quite draconian and outdated, and it was very difficult to try and communicate, even when we became Police Scotland, that still happened. However, since the integration of what we call Unify, it's been incredible, you know, and that's been a real advancement in technology. We've now got body-worn video that's just been launched in Police Scotland. Again, although it might be behind the ilk of body-worn video, because a lot of companies have had it, we're now utilising it. You know,
what is that? Sorry, what am I?
So body-worn video is your cameras that you wear and you utilise, and the
Yeah.
system that you manage to how to edit and submit the evidence that comes from it. What's great about that is the level of transparency that now has been created. You know, it stops a lot of debates on what's happening at calls. So that's incredible, but again, it's an advancement in technology. Obviously, we've then got other things like our PDAs, which are pretty much like mobile telephone devices. They are Samsung devices. They connect to the police national computer. They allow you to take crime reports at the scene. They allow you to take statements at the scene of images. I mean, they really are pretty much portable computers, and they've advanced the job massively. They've allowed for real a push forward, and I would say in our job role. What then is difficult is if you're coming into the job and you're not IT savvy. We have experienced that. That's something we're always tackling. Police Scotland have lots of training opportunities. There's lots of courses that you can go on. So don't ever be dispelled if people are coming thinking, I don't know how to use this system. When I first joined the job, I was 6 months in and going home and going, I don't know if this is the job for me. We write so strangely to the courts. You know, this is language I haven't used before. The systems are horrific. You know, that's how I felt at the time. And then, you know, 7, 8, 9 months in, through exposure,
it just starts to make sense.
It just starts to make sense. You just start going, oh, I get this. I now understand that. That's called experience. So I certainly wouldn't dispel anybody coming in. But AI, I think, will come into the police. Absolutely. Where it comes in or how it comes in or where it's utilised.
Can I see the police getting replaced with just a robot that comes up and goes, stop?
No.
Don't do that.
But we're trying to help. Like for the Retail Taskforce, they created an online portal for main retailers, so it allows for quicker reporting systems. That never existed before, so retailers were sitting on a 101 system for an astronomical amount of time, just based on obviously call volume, which then dispelled them from reporting crime, which then means the numbers aren't really accurate. They're probably deciding not to deal with now on this new online portal. They can report almost instantly, which means the crime rates went up, but ultimately we're getting a better reflection on what's happening. So that's an advancement in technology itself that's actually helping the community.
That's good.
That makes
and
sense.
what shops are really struggling to deal with these thefts? Just in case.
No comment.
You know,
They're all managing it very well. They're all dispelling most shoplifters.
no, it's good. Listen, obviously it's great. Like, for us to hear, and for people who are listening that are maybe want to take this step in terms of understanding what Police Scotland's like at the moment, what the job could be like, but also you mentioned a little bit about progression, and obviously I know you did your acting sergeant route. So like, what in your kind of own personal development, what's next for you? What's your next kind of drive? Is it to become a permanent sergeant at some point soon, or?
It's a great question. I mean, it can change from time to time in the job role based on your own experience and also your personal life. I've got 2 young children, so my current role is incredible for me managing my home life just now, which is great. So that's kind of my fourth focus is my personal life. But in my professional life, I will keep striving for promotion and going through that process. It is a difficult process. You know, I missed in the first hurdle. So it's about trying to keep, and again, almost like you were talking about with the police, is getting back on the horse and try again. I would love to, at some point in discussions, potentially train at the college. I've always thrived on educating those younger cops and trying to create a better work ethic and be a good role model for cops coming in. It's just the way I enjoy the job. It's probably why I went for promotion, is because you're leading a team of people to be better, if you will, and progress through the job. And support, I love supporting people. I absolutely think that's the best part. So I think there's a good chance I'll go to the college at some point. I would love to do that. But right now I'm pretty funded for 3 years. So unless something drastically changes, my full focus is on retail crime.
I love that, because I think as well, like if you're thinking about people coming in and all the people that we're speaking to who want to apply and be in the police, I can't imagine anyone better than you, them coming in and being taught by that and having that really good energy and that like focus on wanting to make a difference. And I think that sounds amazing.
And it can get lost. Listen, it's a job like any job. You know, it can be disheartening. You can go through quite traumatic experiences that, you know, allow you or unfortunately make you lose the sort of reason you joined the police. I think if you join the police because you want to join the police, you will always do well. I think if you join it just for the career element, and by the way, very, very secure job role, you know, and as long as you're doing everything right, it's a great career. It's a long career. It's got an incredible pension as long as you contribute to it. There's a lot of really important things about the career that's good, but if you join for the love of the job, you will always do well in the job. And I think that's what I try and bestow when I speak to people, is that although I might have a difficult week, ultimately I still love my job. And that allows me to get up in the morning and get going.
Amazing. I want to touch on this just because I know we're getting on a bit, but I want to just quickly talk about the promotional aspect, right? Because I think it's important for people to understand, maybe even those who are coming as a new, like a career change, rather than just young people. Because some people might come in with experience and have other job roles previously and think, well, I'll come into police, I'll do my probation for a couple of years, then maybe 2 years later I'll be a sergeant. Like, obviously you've seen it isn't as easy as that. There is hurdles to jump through. Can you talk just briefly about like what you have to do to get into that next step in terms of promotion?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I would say, if you're coming, particularly people maybe of my age that are joining the police in their early 30s who have maybe came from different professional worlds, it does all account. You know, it does all matter. When you go for promotion, you have to be supported by your line manager first and foremost. So like you have to have done your probationary period. That's a given. There's different avenues into it. What I would say, you want to get as much experience first off, and also you're not just getting promoted on time served. You have to be promoted because it's what you want to do, which means when you're in the job is do all the right things that a sergeant would do, take ownership more, you know, be emotionally aware. These are all the sort of CVF stuff that they're looking for, so that when you then go to a line manager and say, look, I'm now looking for promotion, you start on that path of, right, how do we support you for promotion? So see, in the next 12 months, we'd be looking for you to do X, Y, and Z. And then that way you've got the experience for a form. The form itself is a difficult process in the police, just because it's how it's worded, but it very much focuses on your values. That's the way we are now. So, and a lot of your values start from your childhood. They start from your work experience prior to the police. They don't start from the moment you join the job. You know, when they ask me about my values, I talk about coming from a fairly, I wouldn't say impoverished, but a very, you know, poor background in the respect we brought up in this scheme. Mum and dad worked several jobs to try and make a living far before they joined the police. These have all created the values that we have today, how your parents brought you up. Yep. So in order to do that, it really is just about having real core values, a really good strong work ethic, and then just making it knowing that that's the path that you're on. Yeah. Again, from even my own experience, going for promotion is a definitive way in the police. Once you go for promotion, it does close off some doors. It does. It just, because ultimately you now become, say, a uniform sergeant, then that's restricting on what roles you can go to based on your experience. So I would always say anybody that joins the police, get as much experience as you can. If there's something you want to progress or do it. Yeah. Or if you don't know how to do it, ask someone. Yeah. Go to the departments that when you join the police and chat their door and say, I'm Andrew McCrystal. What is it you guys do? And that's ultimately how you will then progress. And once you've got the experience, then go through it. But it is important to know that your past experience does matter. Does count. Yeah.
I was just quite curious about it, and it's quite interesting you say about like just going out and asking the question, because we when people say they want to join the police, sometimes they have a specialised job. Like you have the people, I want to be the dog handler. And you go, I know that, but you're going to have to be a police constable first. It's not as simple as you go in and go, right, I'll pick that one, that'll do.
That's very cool.
I want to do like traffic. People love the idea of being traffic, but that isn't how it works. You have to be earn your stripes.
You only have to get through your 2-year probationary period, but before you can start moving on from the role that your current role. But what I would say is when you're in that role, is get if you want to go to traffic, start stopping cars, get a real sound knowledge of road traffic legislation. Speak to people who are driving, detect criminality from driving offences. Just go down that route. It's important when you go in the role, whatever you decide to go down, and you focus on it, it will change. You might go after your probation, go, do you know, I really want to go in the dogs, but now I've actually worked with, for example, I don't know, could be the proactive unit that's deal with, drugs and stuff, or maybe they helped you with one of your incidents, and you're like, I really now fancy that. How do I go down that avenue? So just because of the focus that you come into the police is, I want to do this, bear in mind that it can be dispelled, it can change, and that's okay. Yeah. And you might not get to the role you want to get to. For example, dogs is a really difficult role, but it's doable. Yep. It just takes some time, and it means getting yourself into the right places, speaking to the right people, and getting the experience is the most thing.
Amazing.
And see, if we think it like just to kind of round it off, sort of thing, like I could imagine there'll be lots of things that you've done that you like that are like majority of things that you're doing are going to be making like a really big difference. Is there anything that you can like pinpoint as being something that you were just really proud of? Putting you right on the spot.
I know. I would say I'm fortunate enough with, and I don't want to toot my own horn, because I think that can happen very quickly when you say something you're proud of something you've achieved.
I think it's hard as Scottish people to say something we're proud of, because we're like, somebody's going to come down and be like, no, don't be proud. Yeah.
And then by the way, in Police Scotland, they advise it. They want you to be proud of the things that you deal with. I wish I had thought about it before I came in. I've been very, very fortunate enough. You talked about care experience, young kids. I would say that my working with care experience for young kids was one of the most satisfying roles for me. I've had good experiences of deterring kids from criminality, and I would say for me that's been the most satisfying part of the job. For me, it's always been about the impact. Recently we arrested someone, and I won't go into too much detail, who was committing retailer offences to a store, but it was a massive impact on the store. It was it was a mainly female ran store, and some of them were thinking about it at night, and we took it on, dealt with it over in a matter of a day, was arrested and held custody, and the impact of them over the weekend, see that freedom of being able to do their job. For me, that's the stuff I'm proud of, that I genuinely get a kick from their diminishing their fear, their anxiety, and that is the impact you can have when you care. And so, although I couldn't really pinpoint any specific incident or story, I think through my career I've been so fortunate over the last 10 years that I've had lots of those experiences that have made me feel good.
Amazing, honestly. It's been a great chat for me, because I've been actually more quiet than I thought I'd be, but I think it's because I've actually been interested to listen to it.
Is this the most interested you've ever been when
obviously my mum and dad are police officers, so you were hearing all about, not like any kind of specific details around actual stories, but like they talked about the police all the time. And my brother Andrew and his partner are both police officers, so they talk about police all the time. So you're partly like, are you numb to this now? But actually, it's been quite interesting, because you're getting to see behind the curtain a wee bit more in terms of like how you see it, but also like we're coming from an advice part, so like you're kind of trying to share how to help others, which has been really good as well. So it's been great.
Thanks so much for joining us for another episode of Career Stories, and we'll hopefully see you soon.